Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kallas Remarks. In place of Joe Staszak today, I am Rick Morris from the FDH Lounge. I'm here with Steve Kallas. Joe is unfortunately under the weather. I have been asked to fill in, so I'm here today substituting for Joe Staszak, such that anybody possibly can, because Joe is irreplaceable. But I'm here in this role, and Steve Kallas, take it away. Talk about what we're going to be doing with the NBA and the NHL playoffs today.
Yeah, 1,000 thank yous for Rick Morris bailing us out at the last second. Joe is under the weather, but hopefully we'll be back next week. We'll keep you posted on that. But we're here to talk about the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs. We're going to start first with there's so many interesting series here, Rick, but we're going to start first with the Cleveland Cavaliers, because when I saw the injuries they had early on, and I'm sure you're the Cleveland guy, but I'm sure when I saw that, I said, well, it looks like Cleveland's in trouble, but when are they going to get healthy? Flash forward now, after 2 losses, they now got healthy. So you could take it from there on the Cavs series, where they are and where you think they're going.
Well, I will say this, and again, it really pained me personally to see the injuries again, our Cleveland guy, but it's a thing where you're making an assumption that I wish was true, but I'm not at all sure that it's true. They played because the gun was at their heads. They're down 0-2. They had to go. Darius Garland said as much. I mean, and for as much as there have been a lot of idiot Cavs fans on Reddit calling him soft for missing time just because his toe was sore, anybody that knows anything about sports knows you see it in the NFL with running backs and quarterbacks. You see it, particularly with, say, a point guard in the NBA, which Darius Garland just happens to be. It's key to the ability to plant, to shift directions, to do so many of the things he does that made him an all-star. So this is a thing where, again, you take 2 of the 3 all-stars off the team. And I mean, I think that, Allen probably should have been the 4th, but regardless, you have your 3 best players. 2 of them were gone. Mitchell has been showing that he's Superman basically throughout this, in games 2 and 3 in particular. But you got a situation where I've seen, and we'll talk about this with the NBA and with the Stanley Cup playoffs, there are some situations where there were some perhaps surprising 0-2 deficits for teams that were favored. And then the third game went the other way, and I'm sitting here saying, okay, it's over. They flipped the script. It's over. I wish I could say that about the Cavs. I can't say that about the Cavs, because you got Mobley with the badly twisted ankle that he suffered in game 1. So these are things where, again, I watching this through the lens of a fan as well as an analyst here, I'm just picturing out in my head. I mean, if you win a title, it's 5 wins down, 11 to go. Plus, and it's going to be more than 11 games, sadly, because there will be some losses in there. There's a lot that's got to transpire in the next 6 to 7 weeks here. And these guys may be out again. And if they are, what does that do to the Cavs? The Cavs can't win without them. They're the deepest team in the NBA. Their depth is incredible. But I was just saying this off air yesterday at FDH Hoops analyst Ben Chu. You got maybe one guy at this point where you can look at him and say, that guy can be more than what he is any other night if you need him to be. And I think that's Max Strus. Generally speaking, you'd say that about Dean Wade also, but he's a little cold lately. So, and Ty Jerome has not been that in this series. At the very least, it's going to make him more affordable for the Cavs in the offseason. They will be able to keep him, but this is not the way I wanted to see it happen. So the Cavs need to win today, get it to 2-2, and then if they do, game 5 at home, then you can start to exhale a little bit. But nobody that's really watching this team is exhaling at this point, Steve, just because in game 3. And I differentiate this from the Boston series, where I would say that, perhaps the Edmonton-Vegas series in the NHL, certainly the Toronto-Florida series. I look at the games where the favorite won game 3, and I'm thinking, okay, that scare is over. Can't say that about the Cavs as much as I'd like to.
Yeah, well, when I looked at the Cavs and the Knicks series for that matter, I'm a New York guy, but the Cavs with no Garland, no Mobley, that looked like huge losses. And Donovan Mitchell was Superman, but couldn't get a win. So I understand what you're saying, but I think they have turned the corner there. But unlike them, now I know you're a little, not that I'm sure, but I think the Cavs are going to win this series. Credit to Halliburton for doing, a couple of incredible things to win those first 2 games, which the Cavs almost won without Mobley and without Garland. Mm-hmm. But turning over to the Knicks, I thought the key to the Knicks series, especially after the first game, was, is Porzingis healthy? Porzingis, as you know, was a Knick for a long time. I think, lost in Washington for a while, and now he's on the championship team last year. And he has some weird virus that nobody knows what it is, Rick. They want, except to say it's not COVID. He has some kind of virus that just makes him totally weak. He played again in game 3. I thought they had to either make threes. You know the story already, 25 for 100. This is where the NBA has gone for the Celtics the first 2 games, up 20 in both games, and then the Knicks came back and beat them late. But yesterday, Celtics 115, Knicks 93, Celtics 20 for 40. They go from 25% in 2 games to 50% in 1 game. Porzingis played, to me, was not 100%, but just the fact that he's out there, I think, is giving his teammates a big boost. But now it's going to be all about, the Celtics live by the 3, die by the 3, but they're the best road team in basketball. Joe Mazzulla, championship coach last year, 15-5 in road games since he's coached the Celtics. And they were the best road team in the NBA this year during the regular season. So I don't think it bodes well for the Knicks. Although we'll just have to see. You go from 25%, 10 for 40, 15 for 60, both 25%, suddenly to 50% last night at the Garden. I guess playing at the Garden wasn't much of a home court advantage for the Knicks. So I think the Celtics, injury-wise, Porzingis is a big loss. If he's not 100%, he's on the court, but he's not Porzingis. I mean, he slaughtered the Knicks. Last regular season game I watched, he hit like 3 3-pointers from 28 feet. He had 34 against them and like 16 rebounds. If he's healthy, I think the Knicks are in deep trouble. If he's not healthy, I think they still have a chance. But as you know, game 4, if they lose game 4 and the Celtics have recovered, then I think the Celtics are going to be fine going back to Boston. I'll start briefly if you want to jump in on Timberwolves and Warriors. To me, it's become, and I'll just say this, to me, it's become a no Curry series, no win for the Timberwolves, no win for the Warriors, I should say. He's missed 2 games now. They said it was going to be a week. He might miss a 3rd game. Obviously, the Warriors stole the first game, but now they're down 2-1. Anthony Edwards, 36 points, 28 in the second half last night. Butler, 33, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, but not enough. And it just shows you what Curry means to the team. Arguably the greatest shooter of all time. I'd like to put Jerry West in there if he played in today's game, or maybe Pistol Pete Maravich. Probably 6 for 9 in his limited Celtics career with a 3-point line. He retired midseason. But they obviously miss Curry because he's such a great shooter to this day. 37 years old, I think. Incredible. Any thoughts on Timberwolves Warriors? Then we'll go to OKC Denver.
Yeah, I think it's over for Golden State because they can't win without Curry, and it's a situation where Minnesota, this is a weird thing to say because I had them going out in the first round to the Lakers. I actually thought the Lakers would come out of the West because I thought they were a tough matchup for OKC. Obviously, that goes out the window now. But Minnesota and Denver, I have to say this, in our final FDH power rankings for the season here. We have a statistical formula that uses both regular stats and advanced stats, and it's up on the main page at fantasydrafthelp.com. That's one of those things we did our playoff preview on our show. We noted it like, wow, the statistics really love Denver and Minnesota. And that's one of those things where I looked at it, and in the case of Denver, it's like, okay, this is a little bit of a lagging indicator because their defense has gone off a cliff recently. But in the case of Minnesota, it was a thing of like, wow, it's really hard to pick against them. And yet I am picking against them in the first round. That was a very hard series to pick. But I just thought from there it was going to get easier for the Lakers. I thought that the Lakers could take Golden State, and I believed that they were a good matchup for Oklahoma City. But Minnesota, again, should not be slept on. Oddly enough, I think they're not even quite the same team after making the trade that they made last year. I don't think it was advantageous for them to get rid of Towns, but Edwards continues to take steps forward. Randall has at least been healthy and contributing. And Minnesota, do not be surprised if they're the team coming out of the West because, again, they really have just, quite a package there. And Edwards just continues to get better and better and better. And he's been the best player in this series. And when that happens, Minnesota's very hard to beat.
I'll just go. I agree with that analysis. Again, my problem. Cavs OKC before the playoffs started. I said
me too.
They're the best 2.
Well, I said Lakers, I guess, but yeah, OKC could have been in there. Yeah.
Well, I just don't think they quite have the experience to either win a champion, or they might not have the experience to either win a championship or get to the conference finals. Now with Curry hurt, I think you're right. I think it's over. But OKC against Denver, to me, Jokic is still the best player in the world and has been for a few years now. But after that first game that Denver stole, OKC beat them like 149, 103 or 106 or something. But Denver comes back to win game 3 in overtime. So they now have a 2-1 lead. You know me, I'm a Mike Malone guy. I played at Bauer Memorial. I played baseball and basketball for his dad, Brendan Malone, and then coached in the NBA for 40 years. But I think they did Mike Malone wrong. He won a championship, and less than 2 years later, he's fired with 3 games left in the regular season. But Denver's really, really good. They have champions, as you know. They have championship experience. OKC doesn't. As great as Gilgeous-Alexander is, can he put them on his back and win games? Well, again, they're down 2-1. That last game was in overtime, and Denver won. So we have, in my view, Denver with the experience, OKC without it. I'm not saying Indy has more experience than the Cavs. That's why I like the Cavs. If it becomes Cavs-Celtics, I'm not sure that's a toss-up series to me right now. But I think a lot of it is, and the reason I'm like you, maybe I like the Warriors was because of their experience, and even the Lakers because of their experience. All those teams won championships recently, or in, of course, Golden State's, they've won 4. So I think it's still going to be interesting, but it's the old, you better be healthy. And if Curry's not healthy, and it sounds like they say he was going to miss a week, so I think that would be a 3rd game, but maybe he tries to come back now. Why? Because they're losing. If they were up 2-1, they might take the extra day.
Yeah.
But they're losing. This is just conjecture on my part. But if he can play, now you know how it is with groin pulls, hamstrings, hard to come back from. And you make one bad step when you come back, you're out for the rest of the playoffs.
Right.
Anything more on NBA before we go to the NHL?
No, nothing really, except I will say in terms of Curry, as somebody that was a bit hobbled throughout the playoffs in 2016 due to that one game in Houston. Like you said, all it takes is a little bit of, a misstep on the court, whatever. And I always said at the time that the Cavs, in all fairness, should have cut a playoff share out and perhaps a championship ring for the Houston Rockets floor mopper that year.
Oh, that's fantastic. Let's move on to the NHL. I'll start with the Golden Knights and the Oilers. They had one of the weirdest games I've ever seen in the final second, singular second game. Now, the Oilers had won 6 in a row. Calvin Pickard had won 6 in a row. He's the backup goalie. And, of course, they have McDavid, who I think is lost in Edmonton. But they had won the first 2 games against the Golden Nuggets. And yesterday, the game is tied 3-3 very late, and I mean very, very late. And the Golden Knights go to the net. A shot goes off. It looks like it stopped, but it comes back to Riley Smith, who puts it in past the buzzer. It's called off. When they look at the replay, they see that Draisaitl just trying to help his goalie, trying to protect the crease. He put his stick there, and the puck actually went up underneath the net, inside as a goal, came back out. So while Riley Smith's game-winning goal was too late, this, with 0.2 of a second left, Rick, this goal counted, and it gives the Golden Knights some life. I still like the Oilers in that series. I think McDavid is a super-duper star, first ballot Hall of Famer already. But that particular game, now again, the Oilers, would have been overtime is what would have happened. But Golden Knights get the goal. Riley Smith, because he's the closest guy, you know that rule in hockey, closest guy. It's kind of an own goal if you follow soccer, but Riley Smith gets the game-winning goal, as well as he had another goal before that. So I find that series interesting. I don't know if you want to go on Panthers and Leafs, because that's another fascinating series as well.
Yeah, I think, again, the fact that the Panthers took game 3, I think the Leafs window is over. I think it's going to become here we go again. And I will just say, I picked Las Vegas to win against Edmonton in this series. I picked against Edmonton in the first round. I thought this was the year LA is going to take them down. They had markedly a better regular season than Edmonton did. They fooled me thus far, but Vegas is a team where, again, I just think, again, Edmonton missed their chance to put them away, because Vegas is, I'm sure you would agree with me, the more complete team by far. And when you're looking at, best player on either team, it's very interesting. You've got McDavid, but then you got Eichel with Vegas. And I once queried FDH hockey analyst and the sportsology proprietor Russ Cohen, like, is this the Marino, Montana of hockey? And he said, stop it. That's not the case. But it is a thing where Vegas, the thing that's interesting to me is they represent the most vibrant, for lack of a better word, city in the world. But I've made this point to Russ over a period of time. The team is beige wallpaper. Like the style does not match the city at all. But they win. And in Vegas, they just love it if you win. You don't have to be flashy. You don't have to be the most spectacular kind of a thing. And the Knights are not. They never have been. They just grind and beat you. And they're a machine. And if they end up facing either Dallas or Winnipeg in the West Finals, it will be spectacular. But yeah, I think it's done for Toronto. They surprised me with the start that they got off to against Florida. But I think, and Marchand, of all people, beating them in Game 3, they got to be thinking, here we go again. And again, I picked Tampa Bay in the first round. I thought Tampa Bay was going to win it all this year. So it is one of those things where, again, I think, do you sort of absorb the soul of the team that you beat? Maybe that's the case, because Florida looks like they're back to being the Florida of the last 2 years, which I questioned a bit going into the playoffs. I'm not questioning that now.
Gotcha. I'll wrap up these two, and you can say anything you want about them, and then we'll call it a day. But Carolina shuts out the Caps 4-0 yesterday to take a 2-1 lead. Anderson got a shutout. Carolina's a very tough team. They manhandled the Devils. And most important, Ovechkin has no goals in these first three games. That's a long streak for him. And Winnipeg beat the Stars 4-0. Connor Hellebuck, who might be the best goalie in hockey, he gets a shutout. That game is 1-1. And, to me, the Canadian teams, they're lost in Winnipeg. They're lost in Edmonton. I'm not saying this as a proud New Yorker. I'm just saying these guys, no Canadian team has won since what? I think it's like the Canadians in 1993.
Yep.
So that's it for me on the NHL. Anything you have to say, and then we'll wrap it up.
Couple quick notes. They may never win again if they become the 51st state. So that's 93 would always be the end of that run. I think certainly I'm still looking for Dallas to come out over Winnipeg. I think it'll be a great series. I picked Dallas to come out of the West. I think they could be the favorites now. And again, I'll just bring it all the way around with this one here. Does the Mikko Rantanen revenge tour continue? Are we looking at Dallas and Carolina in the final?
Rantanen has done things nobody has done. He's got 6 goals in those 2 games. It's never been done. In fact,
2 natural hat tricks,
right?
Not just hat tricks.
And I did see a list, and I think I want to say it's Rocket Richard has done it like 3 times, maybe Gretzky. But nobody's done it in the same series or even in the same season.
Yeah.
2 natural hat tricks. So, yeah, Rantanen's unbelievable. And now he's probably laughing after these 2 games, not 1, but 2 games. Prior game, he had 3 goals and an assist. They scored 4 goals.
Yeah. Greatest one that I ever saw as a Wings fan in the 97 final against Philly. Of all people, Darren McCarty getting the natural hat trick. I will cherish that as long as I live.
It's a short list. That's right. Yeah. He's on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, both sports, the playoffs continue to be scintillating as we're going along here and building towards a very interesting next step here with the conference finals and then the finals in the NBA, the final in the Stanley Cup here. And yeah, it's going to be great to continue to watch this, Steve.
Yeah, many thanks to Rick Morris for filling in at the 11th hour. Believe me, I can't thank him enough. And, of course, hopefully Joe will be back next week. But this is Speaking of Sports with Steve Kallas and super guest Rick Morris. We'll see you the next time.